everybody, welcome back to the shop and welcome to another Flea Market Finds episode. This is in fact going to be a estate pick. This is a Facebook find. This came up on Marketplace and I jumped right on it, and this was one of those situations where the individual just posted several photographs of stuff on a tabletop, various machinist items, and basically put a high dollar amount, I think it was $800 on it. I immediately reached out to the person and I basically wanted to find out whether or not he'd be interested in splitting anything up, because I could see he had a lot of high-speed steel end mills in boxes, looked like maybe some taps and stuff like that, a lot of that kind of stuff that it does have value, but it's not something I want to get into because I've just amassed so much over the years. So when I was speaking to him, being that it was an hour drive for me to get there, I basically said, would you be interested in selling off some items? I said, he said, I'd really like to try and sell the whole thing in one shot. I don't want to deal with a whole bunch of people. And I completely understand that. But I said, well, I tell you what, I said, I see several items I'd be interested in buying. And he said, geez, I don't even know. But if you want to come down and put together a pile. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to roll the dice and take a chance. So once I got there and I started looking through stuff, I saw quite a few items, so let's dive right into this. But before we get to that, I just want to mention, if you like these kind of videos and you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. So one of the items that caught my eye in the initial photos on Facebook Marketplace was this hold-down set. So I included this in the initial pile that I put together. So the initial pile that I put together, I ended up making an offer of $200 on, and he counted at $250, and then I think I threw in a couple more items and said I'd come up to $220, and he decided to take my offer. So this set right here, it's badged Prime Line, so it's probably an import. But what caught my eye about it, other than it being filthy, is it's actually very complete. It's great. All the stepper blocks are here. It's missing only one short stud, and it looks like maybe it's missing maybe a couple of T-nuts and a couple of nuts here. That's it. These long ones here for putting together two. These are actually supposed to be in here like this, but they're easier to get out this way, so that's probably why somebody had them in there that way. But so it's a pretty decent set, and you can buy these new now. The import sets new, they run about $50. But the thing is, nobody's offering free shipping on these things right now, and the shipping, because of the weight of this thing, it's a little high. So you're going to pay like $30, even $40 shipping on some of these. Which brings it up to $80 or $90. So it's a nice little set. Also in this initial pile, we had these three dial calipers. First I thought these were imports when I was looking at them in the photos, and then when I got there, I saw that this one's a Mitutoyo, and it's missing the crystal. But it actually still works. So this might be worth it for somebody to take the time and have a new crystal installed on that one. This is a case for an old Helios, which is a German-made dial caliper, but what's in it is another Mitutoyo, and again another working Mitutoyo, and another Mitutoyo missing the crystal. So oddly enough. And then there was this little short set right here, which is kind of nice. And this is a little 4-inch Fowler, and this also works perfectly fine. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to keep this one for myself. I did a little while back. I did get a little short Mitutoyo. I can't remember though if it was a 6-inch or not. So I might just keep the Mitutoyo 6-inch and let the Fowler go. And there was this box with contents, and I took a look, and I've got some boring heads coming up. For whatever reason, this guy was lousy with boring heads. He had a lot of boring heads. And I saw this box sitting there. It was open like this, and I took a quick look in, spotted a couple boring heads, but then I realized from what I could see here, okay, that these are holders. First I thought they were fly cutters. Then I realized, no, these are holders to go in a boring head. So I realized this box is probably a case for one of these boring heads that I ended up buying. So let's take a look at what other goodies are thrown in here with this though. There's a nice little boring head right there. This is a Criterion. I believe it's an earlier model. I think the square ones are earlier. Criterion is a good brand name of boring head. Looks like it's in pretty decent shape. I'll have to go through my small boring heads and see whether or not this is something I would keep or whether or not I'd be willing to pass this on. And this just says model 1.5. That's a funky one. I've never seen one like this. Look at the design on this thing. Well, that's, tell you what, that arbor came off easily. The shank, I mean, right? That funky thing. I don't see any markings on it from manufacturer. It's got an open design where you can actually see the screw in there. Yeah, so that's going to be a mystery, I guess. And again, could easily be a fly cutter. Well, no, it's more of a boring. Judging by the angles that are cut on this, ground on this cutter right here, I would say that is for boring, so that probably went into one of these boring heads. Look at this thing. Huh. Another funky. This is a boring head. Get a load of this thing. So, can mount it either horizontally or vertically. Boy, that's kind of a neat one. I like the way that adjusts. You could just reach in there and adjust it, but how do you lock it? There's no shank on it yet. That'd be easy enough to solve. I wonder if this locks it. That doesn't even turn. That doesn't want to turn at all, so I don't know what that is. Oh yeah, that's moving. I can see it. Oh, I like that. Ooh. Boy, I'd love to know who makes this thing. The only markings on here is it says 1 division equals 0.0001. So each division on here is a 10,000th. Just the slightest amount of pressure with a pair of pliers and I was able to break this free and find out that it is in fact the locking thumb wheel. So that's what keeps this thing from just being able to do this or get bumped once you set it. Oh, that makes this a keeper. Oh, I love it. I think it's cool as hell. Another one of these. It's a nice little bonus. This is a quick quilt clamp. Depth stop clamp for your milling machine. Here's a boring bar in a interesting little collet. Oh, it's a hard-inch collet. It's a 5/16 inch hard-inch collet. I wonder whether or not one of these boring heads could be a hard-inch. Well, not one of these, but hickory sticks. It's just a oh, that's a wedge of hickory wood, and that's what you use for holding like an axe head onto the handle. In other words, on the you put the axe head on, and then on the top there's a split, and you drive one of these. Put some glue, and you drive one of these into the slot there, and it expands. There's another boring bar. So it looks like all that's left in here are more of these boring heads, or little bars. Well, they're like little heads that you can then use a lathe tool in. For instance, there's one there. It's got one in it. Okay, so I'm going to go through these real quick and see what we actually have here. Okay, got a bit of a mystery here. Part of the mystery solved. This case This box is for a Bridgeport #2 boring head, which I'm pretty sure I have in this lot of stuff that I bought. The mystery is there are way too many holders. So, there are 6 holes here for holders. And from what I can tell from looking at auctions on eBay, other sets, this is one of them. And then there should be one of these, but I have 2. And then it almost looked like some of the sets had 2 of these. And the interesting thing about these are that this one and this one both have different sized Allen set screws. So I'm not sure what the deal is there. But I think I actually saw once somebody's set where they actually had 2 of these. Not sure. Should be one of this size, and I've got 4. And then one of this size that I have 2 of. Yes, I went into the other boxes of stuff that I had in this pile and pulled out the Bridgeport #2 boring head that was in this lot. So that looks like the correct one. It won't fit in here with the shank installed, but I'm also noticing that this is another one of these tall ones here. So there must be enough here for at least one more Bridgeport #2 boring head setup, but I don't think I got 2 of these big #2 heads. I did get some other boring heads, but I don't think they're going to be this big. So let me just take this shank out so I can put this in the box where it belongs. So this is my current Bridgeport #2 boring head. I just have the boring head loose like this. I don't have the kit, so mine looks like it's in a little bit better shape. So I'm going to swap this out, and I'm going to keep this box with the heads. I'm going to keep this box with the heads for myself, and it's the only thing that's missing now is there were actually some boring bars that went in here. The only thing in the box that may have belonged in here was this boring bar. May have been originally from this set, but it is jammed into this hardened collet. I don't know how the heck they did this, but it's, I don't know, it looks like maybe there's a piece of swarf in there, so maybe there was a piece of swarf interfering with it when they were pushing this in. But I can't get this out. It's really in there. And I don't know what these collets are for. That one's clearly marked hardened. These other ones are unmarked, other than with some of them marked with size. But they don't appear to be, I don't know. Maybe these are for, yeah, so if these are for the little boring bars like this, then the different size boring bars must have needed collets like this in order to but you see, these are way too small for this. I don't know, that's a mystery. There's also this little boring bar that takes a carbide insert. That's got a part number on it, but that doesn't appear to be original to this set. This is a shank to go on a boring bar. It's clearly marked Criterion, so that doesn't belong in this box. This is still a mystery, completely unmarked. This little piece right here, judging by the fine threads, almost looks like it's a part of a boring head. So if I find a broken boring head amongst the stuff that I bought, that might be for that. Oh, and last, this right here, this one here that I was so excited about, turns out this is an Ericsson. That's who makes this one. I was able to find that online. The majority of these right now are trading for around $100. I did find one that had the Ericsson quick switch adapter on it, and that one sold for like 50 or 60 bucks. But other than that, the majority of them are typically running higher. Interestingly enough, I did find one that's listed right now for $49, your best offer, with $12 shipping. And the reason why that one's so low is because, like me, he didn't know what this was, so he just listed it as a CNC boring head. But I recognized it after figuring out what this was, so I actually put an offer in on it. We'll see if I get it, because I think if I get it and I rebadge it and I identify it as Erickson, I think I could probably get more money for it. Or not. Maybe I'll get stuck with it, and then it'll serve me right. All right, let's take a look at this Fowler set. So somebody just took a photocopy of gauge block inspection certificate. Well, no, I guess that's not a photocopy. I guess that's just how they did it back then at Fowler. I don't know. So just a quick look here. It looks like, it's interesting. There are slots right here that at first I was going to say they're missing. But I noticed they're fractional blocks, and there's a piece of tape over these that looks like it's original. So I think maybe this set did not come with these. There's 2 slots for wear blocks, and then there's 4 slots for fractional blocks. But where the decimal blocks start, we do have, well, that's interesting. The first block is a 0.10075, and the one that's in here is a Weber. And actually that's a Weber. I'm seeing several Weber blocks in here. Then I'm seeing some Fowlers and Webers up here. This looks like it might be a mixed set, but it looks like it might be fairly complete. Also in this set are these two hickeys right here, which these are from like a Pratt Whitney or a Hook type set, which I've had. I actually have a few of these. One that's pretty much complete, and then I've got some just random ones that I was planning on trying to put together fairly complete sets. So yeah, so these are 250 radius Pratt and Whitney gauge blocks. You can basically put these together with the other blocks that have holes in them, and you stack it all together, and you can make like a go-no-go gauge for your holes and stuff like that. These are handy. I've talked about these in the past. Yeah, so seeing a little bit of surface rust on these. Not too bad. I think it's still a good serviceable set for somebody. My hands are filthy, so I don't really think I'm going to be able to ring these together. I'm not even going to try. So that's funky. That's a Weber 2-inch right there. And that's a completely unmarked. That's a Fowler 4 right there. Well, that's interesting. It's got the lines on it like that other one. So let me see. Maybe this is marked. I just didn't see it. Yeah. It's really hard to see. It's goes to that's a Fowler. So Weber 2, Fowler 3, Fowler 4. Don't know what went here. Everything in this box was also in this initial pile. Start with this right here. This is a Collet Rack. And this is called the Swinger by M&M. The Swinger. So this is meant to mount right on the side of your machine and hold R8 collets. So that's kind of nice. Got another small boring head. It's a Bridgeport number 1. Huh, look at this. Just sitting there. A perfectly operational Blake coaxial. No case, no accessories. Luckily it does have one contact arm that was with it. It's kind of funny that I should come into this because I just sold off 3 of my surplus Blake coaxial sets. So just needs a little bit of cleaning up. But I'll be able to give somebody a really good deal on that. So before I move on, I wanted to revisit this gauge block set because upon further examination, there's some really interesting things I've noticed about it. First off, in the corner here, it says the grade is ES1 A+, which that's the highest grade I've seen in a gauge block set that I've ever owned. I've got several gauge block sets. I've had some come and go, and I've never had one that was A+. And I don't know what ES1 means. Case in point, I've had gauge blocks that I was able to ring together, and you know, the amount of attraction when you ring them is not that big of a deal on the ones that I have. But this set right here, so I just rang those two together, and they are really, these are really stuck together. I can't, it doesn't come through on the camera, so I'm sorry I can't really convey how well these suckers are attracted to each other right now. You know, I've seen old video footage of Johansson, where he's, you know, just got a whole big row of gauge blocks he's holding up, and they're all stuck to each other, and it's amazing. So those of you who don't know what the heck I'm talking about here, this property of these two being stuck together is nothing to do with magnetism. These are not magnetic in any way. They are just stuck to each other right now. And there's actually, I don't think anyone has settled the debate on exactly what property is going on here to explain why these are now stuck to each other. The idea that the surfaces are just so super smooth and flat that there's absolutely no void left for any air molecules in there or something along that line. I don't know all the technical mumbo jumbo. I just know that this is actually a pretty cool phenomenon that you can attain with good quality gauge blocks. So all it takes is, you know, a twist like an Oreo cookie, and they'll part ways. So that's interesting item number one. Interesting item number two about these blocks is I had noticed on these bigger blocks, is where I really noticed it. I was looking at these and I was like, what the heck? Why does it have these lines? Well, turns out every one of these small blocks also has these lines on it. See those little lines right there? So check this out. Over here in the corner, over here on this edge, there's a label. And it says Metrology Identification Code Number 155. And then there's this thing here. It says groove number. And then it's numbers 1 through 9. And then there's a line here and it says gauge block edge. And what I realized is, lo and behold, if you take one of these gauge blocks and you hold the edge up right to that line, the lines on the block line up exactly with 1, 2, 4, 5, and 8, which is where there are lines on this label. So in other words, 3, 6, 7, and 9 do not have any line next to them. And what I think this is I think this is some sort of a certification that guarantees that when you pick up a block from this set, that the block hasn't been replaced with some other block. That this is the block that came with this set, and it's basically encoded with these lines to prove that this is an original block from this set. So like if we pull one of the Webers, okay, the Webers these replacement Weber blocks that are in here, they do not have the lines on them. So what that tells me is, that what I already knew, which is the Webers aren't original to this set. The Webers came after. The other thing I noticed, and now it's starting to make sense to me, is these yellow stickers. So these yellow stickers that say integrity, notice they've been punched out so the blocks can be inserted. And what I think is going on here is, I think when this set was sent out for certification, it was missing certain blocks, and what the company did that did the certification is they put these stickers over here to block out those slots, to let somebody down the road know that, hey, these blocks, if they were to show up later, have not been certified. So that's what I think the integrity stickers mean. And it sure looks to me like, almost without fail, except for the couple down here, all of the spots that have the yellow stickers that now have blocks in them have Weber blocks in them. So I think that's what's going on here. So this is a Weber 1-inch. Notice this is all had yellow tape around it. Whereas these, well, actually that's a Fowler, that's a Weber, so that probably, maybe that originally had tape around it. So that's a Weber, and no lines on it. So I think maybe some of the tape's missing. Either that, or this one went missing after it came back from certification and somebody replaced it with a Weber. I don't know. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. It looks like whatever the certification was done, that resulted in this label being put here, was done after the set had already been missing some blocks that had been replaced. I say that because I just noticed this block, which is a 2-inch block, this block has the coded lines on it, the grooves, and this block is clearly marked that it's a Weber 2-inch. And then the 3-inch is coded, and this is definitely a Fowler. It's marked Fowler 3-inch. So it turns out just because it's a Weber doesn't mean that it wasn't certified. I was wrong. That's a 4-inch Fowler that is marked. So, interesting. And then this label in the lid, this must have been when they sent it out, because somebody wrote missing next to a couple of these. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them were marked missing, and then it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them have numbers written next to them. So I don't know if that's like the era that they found or what.